Hey neighbor, welcome back to Beyond ARTV. My name is John, and this is the Think Tank, the show where I take something that's been kind of floating around in my head, and then I turn it into a video, discussing it out with you guys to share my point of view, but I also want to hear yours. And today, I want to talk about music and how it can feel like Pokemon, in the sense of gotta catch 'em all, but it's not actually something that you could accomplish normally, much like the game of Pokemon and anything else where you're trying to get every single little ounce that's out there, but it's not realistic and you end up burning yourself out in the process. That's a very roundabout way of me saying that you cannot hear everything in music, and it often feels like a competition, especially if you run in certain circles, if you're a part of the music sphere on YouTube, on Twitter, maybe you're a part of like Rate Your Music or another one of those sites, and I'm not trying to say that everything there is toxic. I love organizing lists, I love putting stuff together, I love discovering new music, but it can get to a point of toxicity if you feel the pressure to just hear something, to hear everything from a certain artist or band, just to feel like a real fan. I've been wanting to make this video for a while because I see a lot of comments from people that seem to feel guilty that they haven't caught up on everything that I've recommended or not recommended, and they want to hear it because I've talked about it, or because they heard The Needle Drop or Pitchfork or somebody else praise it or destroy it, and they're like, I haven't gotten around to it yet and I'm feeling the pressure, there's like a mountain on top of me, how am I gonna hear everything? And I have a simple answer for you. You're not. Believe it or not, there is such a thing as too much music. Every week there is new stuff dropping, not just on New Music Friday on Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music. I'm talking all throughout the week. I mean, everybody is just putting stuff out at the drop of a hat because we live in the streaming era, and there is more music now than ever before. You don't have to go through a label, through a team. Anybody can post music. It's up on Bandcamp, it's up on streaming, it's up on YouTube, wherever, and you cannot consume everything. It's not logical. Do I think you should actively test yourself and try out new things? Of course, but there's also nothing wrong with having some semblance of a comfort zone, of having records that you can fall back on. I mean, I've got a whole shelf of them behind me. I think it's important to have music that you can love and focus on and turn to if you're having a difficult time, and you shouldn't just feel the mounting pressure of, I have to keep listening to new stuff because it's always coming out, because again, this is unachievable. You're never going to keep up with it, and in the end, you just end up feeling dissatisfied, and this is something that I battled myself. Just looking back at my old reviews, it absolutely astounds me at how much I was able to accomplish, and I still felt like I wasn't doing a good enough job, and that is such a bad mental state to be in. From a reviewer, from a music fan that wants to talk about music's perspective, of course I was trying to just get out recommendations, trying to be well-rounded, but in the sake of doing that, I sacrificed my own mental health, and I'm afraid that a lot of listeners, even a lot of my viewers out there, are doing that too. And I want to send this message to you. Just looking back at my own playlist, I mean, I used to review, like from in 2012, 64 albums. Then it went up to 84 in 2013, 120 in 2014, and then 139 in 2015. The numbers kept going up and my sanity kept going down. So by 2016, I tapered off a bit. 2017, it roughly remained the same. And then I made a decision that I think drastically benefited the way that I saw things. And I said, you know, I don't have to cover everything, I don't have to hear everything, and not everything is going to be for me, so I can start kind of crossing off some of these names that maybe I heard a few songs from and it didn't seem like my thing, so I didn't go out on a limb to check it out. Now, a lot of people could say that's very close-minded, John. You didn't give it all a chance, you didn't hear everything, and again, realistically, I'm going to point the dial right back at you and say that's never going to happen for every single artist. You can't just discover someone and then consume their entire 15-album discography. In some cases, you absolutely should. Maybe you slowly fall in love over time. It doesn't have to be an overnight revelation where a light bulb goes off in your head and you just instantly have to hear every single thing, but you're also simultaneously checking out 20 other bands, this foreign artist, and this person that's pushing something new. And then at the end of the day, it's just, again, that cavalcade where you just don't know what to do. You're listening to music 24/7 and you still haven't heard everything. and that feeling of dissatisfaction creeps back into your head. What worked for me was condensing things, just trying to take it in stride, not having to hear everything the day it came out, because I know that's another thing. You don't want to feel like you're missing out. You got the FOMO factor, and maybe you're browsing your favorite subreddit and everyone else has heard it already, but you're listening to this other album that you've really been into, and you feel the need to just drop everything and get into that. If you're not in the mood, don't force yourself, because if you're not feeling it, if you're not feeling up to trying out something new, you're probably not going to hear that new record in the way that maybe it would hit you if you were in a better mindset. At the end of the day, even though I'm talking to my younger self and passing out advice that I know I should have taken to avoid burnout, to feel a lot more creative, whatever it might be, the limitations that I put on myself, I think, apply to all music fans. And if you find yourself in the boat of trying to keep up with everything, you just don't feel like you're really having the motivation to, but you keep forcing yourself to, please just try this out. Maybe just kind of ease off the gas pedal. Don't listen to that new album the second it drops if you're not actually in the mood for it. If you are, obviously nothing wrong with that. And if you have this insatiable palette to discover, that's an amazing thing. I myself love to just get on Spotify sometimes and start trying out new playlists. I've really been into dream pop recently. It calms me down, it soothes me, and I found a lot of amazing artists like Japanese Breakfast. And on the other side of the fence, I have my React streams where I discover a lot of stuff, and I have on the heavier side of the fence bands like Gojira, and then obviously Japanese Breakfast being very different than that. I like to stay discovering, but I don't like to do it at a rate that feels insane. I could not do those reaction streams every single week. It would be pointless. It wouldn't actually be for the love of the music. It would be for revenue, for something else, and I can't put myself through that, and I know a lot of you out there feel this message too. So if this is something that feels applicable, then maybe give it a try. Just slow down a bit, go back to some albums or some EPs or even some singles, just shuffle through stuff. Sometimes it's okay to just hear a few songs from an artist and you don't know everything. That's just the way it is. It's okay to kind of step back into that comfort zone, and then later you can push out your own boundaries. And with every artist that you discover, sometimes it's just gonna be a couple of songs, maybe one particular album that you've heard, but you haven't gotten around to the other stuff yet, and you shouldn't feel guilt stacking up because of that lack of discovery. I know myself, and I know how a lot of you guys feel. It's okay to kind of find new things, but also stay in this other zone at the same time. I think it's important to try out new stuff and new music and discover a new artist that maybe will challenge your palate, but do not do it at the sake of your own mental health, your own sanity. The way the world spins so quickly these days, it can be mind-boggling, and you can feel like you're getting lost in the shuffle, and you want to be a part of something, you want to be connected to a music group, an artist, a community, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But while it can be toxic to just sit in one community, only listen to one band, it can also be toxic to just sit around trying to discover everything when it's never going to happen, and really, unless you're a very rare person, it's not going to bring true fulfillment and happiness. That's the sermon today from Papa John as I stand here in my Stand Atlantic Powerpuff Girls shirt. So maybe it means nothing, maybe it means something. I hope you enjoyed hearing my thoughts on this subject. Is there such a thing as too much music? I would say yes, but I would love to know what you guys think in the comments down below.